Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Along the Path, a new show dedicated to taking you along the journey of every Muslim's unique experience along the path. What do they encounter? Who do they encounter? How do they tackle it? What are their ambitions as a Muslim? Where do they strive to be? What are the challenges in getting there? And how do you ultimately attain closeness to Allah in your everyday life? We're going to be speaking to individuals that somewhat find Allah along their path and the other experiences that come along with it. I'm Salma Kazi Wahab. Welcome into it. Today, joining me on the program, we have Brother Mehmood and his wife Naseema Hoosen, joining us to talk to us about their journey along the path, and also, having recently come out of the beautiful Hajj season, talk about some Hajj memories as well. Brother Mehmood and Sister Naseema, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Welcome to the program. It's such a pleasure to host both of you, a well-known couple in Durban, but also so significant because Hajj, having just come out of the Hajj season, is something near and dear to both of you. For the benefit of our listeners to understand, just how often have you been for Hajj or Umrah?
Jazakallah for having us on.
It's a pleasure.
I think in terms of our Hajj, we've done 3 Hajjs together.
Subhanallah.
And we've done multiple amounts of Umrahs, a lot of Umrahs. So yes, we take the place very near and dear to our hearts in terms of the Makkah and Medina. So
absolutely, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
And we've mentioned many times previously in private conversations that it's a place that holds deep-rooted significance for many people.
Yes.
You always hear people talking that they say, oh, there they're going for Umrah again, or there they're going for Umrah again. But sometimes it's not necessarily, if you question it and if you had the means to, of course, then that is, of course, would be a top priority or a top preference for most people to go to anybody anywhere else. Why is it one place that you choose to go to most often, and is it the same for your family?
Yeah, exactly. With us, it's like we prefer going, our first choice to go for Umrah, and thereafter the kids love it, the family love it. I think we've been taking them from the time we're young, and it's become like second nature to them. So they will say, we rather just go there first and then go everywhere else after. So
when you look at the beautiful visuals that have come out of Hajj 1446, 2025, having been there so many times before, do you think that ever gets old when you look at those pictures, you look at those visuals? How did you feel looking at Hajj this year?
No, those memories will never go away. In fact, whenever we see those pictures, it just brings back everything. You know, every experience that we had, all the, I wouldn't say challenges, but all the experiences that we have during the part of going for Hajj. It's an amazing experience. And as Naseema was saying, we enjoy going to the place simply because it's spiritually uplifting for all of us, but also we tend to get the family closer. The family becomes a closer unit when we're there together. We bond, we have more time together. We're spending our time in Ibadat. We're going to the Haram each day. We're spending our 5 times in Salah. So it's an amazing experience. In terms of the Hajj itself, I think my advice to anyone that there is no better trip or place to be or any trip that you would like to plan for in your life than actually going for Hajj. It's an amazing, amazing experience, no doubt.
I love that you brought up certain aspects about how it keeps your family together. You're going to the masjid, you're going to the haram all the time. It somewhat prioritizes you, it centers you as a human being. And I think that's why a trip like Hajj is so significant and so important. You see it for many couples now that have went recently, that they said it just aligns you completely with your priorities. Is that what you feel the significance of a Hajj or Umrah would be?
definitely, Salma, as we go through this journey in life, there are certain spiritual rituals that makes us reflect and self-assess with regard to our spiritual growth. And Hajj is definitely one of that.
When you looked at the visuals this year, was there anything that came flooding back for you? Any memories in particular or highlights that you could compare?
I think the ultimate is being in Arafat, the day of Arafat itself, and the closeness you have to your Rabb. And that's something for me. It just sticks in my thoughts all the time. So it's a time when you're at Wukuf, especially, you basically talking to Allah, and it's as if Allah is right now, and we know that Allah is omnipresent. But at that stage, it's like you have a special bond, and you're really speaking to Allah right there. So I think for me, that's the ultimate, is when you're actually in Arafat. Obviously, the other experiences are also amazing, being in Mina, being in Muzdalifah, going to pelting the Jamarat, etc. But the moment of Arafat is something else.
What does that moment of Arafat do for you? As in that moment and after? Do you ever reflect on it afterwards?
Yes, definitely. Arafat is like you are so close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's like you have the sense of hope, contentment, peace, and the unwavering faith. It's something that is extraordinary. And that we take that and bring that into I try and bring that into my daily life and with my family and instill that in them. So alhamdulillah, because with Hajj, there's lots of hardships, there's lots of physical endurance. When I mean hardships, I mean pilgrims travel far and wide, and there's lots of spiritual and emotional testing. But yet you see that the pilgrims, they worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the utmost humility and submission. So that's where we need to bring that into our homes.
Absolutely.
I think Salma also just add, in terms of the Hajj experience, it's, when I'm speaking now, I'm sure people who have been to Hajj will align to what I'm saying, is that it is an experience that is out of this world in terms of you are all special. We are all special being there. You're invited by Allah, but also you're part of something that is so great and so big. It's amazing. It's like you feel you belong to something that is amazing. And for me, what comes out of Hajj is that Islam is so amazing in terms of it caters for all walks, all creeds, all colors. You start seeing Islam in a different way, in the sense that it's no one sort of fit. It fits for everyone, for every nationality, for every tribe, for every color. So for me, it opens out your mind as to what is Islam. You start also introspecting about your Islam and not believing that your flavor of Islam is the right one or somebody else's is, etc. And that's one of the biggest fights that we all have. It's about whose is right and whose is wrong. I think when you go for Hajj, it starts opening your mind out to understanding that Islam is much bigger than that. It's much bigger than an individual.
Absolutely, because you see it with the groups that you then have forced to join. You're forced to be in the company with people who may not be the same way ideology, the same way of thinking.
Yes.
You're forced to seek guidance from ulama that you perhaps typically wouldn't have ever spoken to or encountered. So I do think, yes, in that way you build such an amazing relationship and understanding. It's an eye-opener. One of the moments for me, and that you mentioned, Arafat, was hugely significant when you saw this year many of the Hujjaj were not allowed to or advised to be outside because of the heat. But where you found some of them still going up onto the mountain and Jabal Rahma and actually leading the groups in du'as. And it wasn't just South Africans, it was others that were joining and making du'a together. Did you have similar experiences as well?
We were very fortunate on our last Hajj to actually be on Jabal Rahma. So it's an amazing experience. Because you tend to see that in videos and pictures and those things, but
you want to be there.
To actually be, because Arafat is so huge. Sometimes you never see it. And in my first two Hajjs, I never got to Jabal Rahma. So in the last one, I was actually standing there and I didn't realize I was on. And eventually we realized, hey, we're on Jabal Rahma. It was an amazing experience, really.
And were you there for the entire Wukuf period?
Yes, it was out of this world.
Were you with him?
Yes.
SubhanAllah. Because a lot of times then the women and the men are separate, then they have different experiences. How was that being together?
We've been together from all the Hajjs. We were together at the time of Wukuf. And the first Hajj in 2002, we just went as a couple, but 2008 and 2011, we were honored to go with our Sheikh, Hazrat Shah Muhammad Sayyid Sufi, and he's rest in Makkah now. So it was a total spiritual uplifting moment for us. It was really exhilarating and amazing. And the Hajj, and all pilgrims can speak for that the Hajj leaves a very lasting impact on you and your life. So when you come back, you have to have that change. It just comes as second nature. You reflect and you assess, like, okay, whether I'm doing everything according to towards Allah's pleasure, or submitting, like how we did in Arafat. So you still bring that back.
Absolutely.
So can I just add, Salma, in terms of what Naseema just said, is that when you go for Hajj, there's certain rituals you do, not just the Hajj itself, but before and even sometimes after for a lot of people. And going to Salah and reading your Salah, reading the Quran, when you come back, you want to start implementing that, and it internally gives you a change. You want to start, and it helps. It most definitely helps. And also, besides the Hajj, beyond that, if you're going for your Umrahs, it just reinforces it each time that you need to keep on this path. It's the perfect path.
And I think she mentioned something, Sister Naseema mentioned now, very significant as well. The fact that you went with your spiritual guide, your spiritual mentor. Yes. And you see that with a lot of groups this Hajj as well. So well-known scholars, Sheikh Adil Kabani, Sheikh Yaqubi, among many others that go on these trips, and Mufti Menk and other well-known scholars that go with their followers and those that know them. But I think what's significant here is that he had to pass away there in Makkah al-Mukarramah. He is buried there. For those of you now that we see now the Hajj this year, for the husband that had to leave behind his wife that passed away, the marhuma on Yom al-Arafat as well. You see the other sister also from KwaZulu-Natal, Durban, who her husband passed away on the first day arriving in Makkah, Haji Yusuf Musa. There's so many stories like that, the mother and son from previous years. Why do you think that's so significant? Because we always talk about that, and when you're leaving in your ihram, to think of it as your kafan. There's so many similar analogies where people prepare their wills, their testaments before leaving. What went through your mind at that moment? Do you then have to reflect even more to think this could be your last Umrah or your last Hajj?
No, undoubtedly, definitely. And just being with your Sheikh on that spiritual trip is something. It's out of this world, because you guided along the way, and you're understanding, and there's always advice. There's spiritually you connected, and for us, we were fortunate enough to be with him on that trip, and many other in terms of umrahs and so forth. And we were fortunate also when he passed away and we made parda. It was in Makkah. We were there as well. So from that point of view, there's almost a connection to Makkah and Medina, a greater connection, if I can say. I'm not saying a connection, because everyone has a connection to Makkah and Medina. But the fact that now our peer is there, it certainly has a bond that it's amazing. It's like we can't take this away now. And we want to be there. Yes, we want to be there all the time. Yeah.
And it is a reminder indeed of that is the purpose, and that is the end goal at the end of the day. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back with the closing of Hajj, we go closer and closer to the time of Muharram, a new beginning for many Muslims and a very historically significant month. How does this impact the average Muslim household? We discuss that straight after this. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to Along the Path, where we take you through the journey of Muslims and their unique paths that they find, their ways to Allah, what keeps them close, what keeps them connected, and ultimately always inspired and motivated to reach Allah, who is the goal at the end of the day, and Jannatul Firdaus, of course. We're talking to Brother Mehmood and Sister Naseema Hoosen, who are joining us here. As we reflected on the Hajj, it's now time to reflect a little on the year ahead. And I think it's usually significant too that our new year is timed like this, with Muharram, the Hijri New Year, and especially when you're coming out of a significant time where you are on a spiritual high almost. So I think to start your year off, is there any such a thing, not New Year's resolutions at all, but is there anything, like you mentioned correctly and rightfully so, how often should one reflect or really on where they need to be or how far they've come? Let me ask you first, where have you ever now sat and thought, is this where I want to be in my life?
Definitely, Sama, like how the Western would say, oh, it's New Year's, we need to have a New Year's resolution. But in Islam, it's like we need to reflect not only on New Year's, but on every other time that we have this opportunity. Like, for example, the spiritual milestones. Example, Hajj. Muharram is the Islamic Hijri, the new year. So there as well, it's very important for us as Muslims to reflect with regard to not only our spiritual growth, but also our personal growth and our ambitions and our aspirations and our fulfillments, and to lead a more Islamic life. And are we content with it? And what can we do to better ourselves and better our characters? Whether it is to seek knowledge, whether it is to empower people, providing service to the community.
I think that's so important also. And I think as a couple, you'll also have had to do that many a times, married for so many years as well. How have you then decided, have you decided together, or was it always an individual way, a sense of reflection, or together would you ever make mashwara as a couple, how far you've come or where you need to be on a spiritual scale or maybe in running your household?
In terms of that, Sama, I think it's always been a joint discussion, and not just with us, it's also of our kids as well. Our kids are now much bigger, the adults. So whatever decisions we make, whether it's about our improvement, just from a worldly point of view, becoming our education, etc., it's always something we discuss together. But also from an Islamic point of view, we tend to always talk jointly at the table specifically. And then whatever decisions we're making, whether it's a trip overseas for Hajj or Umrah, we jointly sit down and have a discussion. And in terms of, I think for all parents, you want to be constantly advising your kids on the right path and directing them on the right path. And so that's something that we constantly are doing, whether it's sitting at the table, as I said, or even just sitting down whenever we can and just having a discussion around the table, or whilst we're doing something, we talk about how we can improve ourselves spiritually, Islamically, and just generally empowering each other in terms of where we're going, our goals and aspirations in life. Yeah.
I like that, because it's almost like making a daily muhasabah.
Yeah.
Like, where do we need to go? And are we at fault currently?
Yeah.
And I think that's very important, because you almost can turn over a new leaf. It is one of the most sacred months of the year, Muharram. And I think we almost take it for granted because we are so caught up in our daily lives. So something like turning over a new leaf. You'd made a decision now at this point in your life to start something new. Tell us about that. Why did you decide to do that? What motivated you to start over, if I may say that?
Because I think it's very important as Muslims not to be sitting in a limbo, but also try to make ourselves more productive. And we have a purpose in this world and the purpose in our lives. So now, as Mehmood said, that the kids are much older, and I didn't want to be, I wanted to be more productive. So my passion is cooking and hosting, and we always having gatherings. So I wanted to take it a notch higher with regard to doing it in a much more professional way. So I've decided to go into culinary school, and I've done this culinary and patisserie program, which was totally amazing. At my age, I enjoyed it. The studies, the lectures, it was absolutely fulfilling. And what actually drove me there was my passion. And secondly, I'd love to learn, seek knowledge and learn new things and be more creative. And food also, I find with food and cooking, it expresses love and care and making people happy and satisfying it. So it gives me a sense of fulfillment at the same time.
That's so amazing. Have you noticed a change since you started something new? You've got a lovely smile on your face.
I think the biggest change is we get some fancy dishes these days.
More creative, experimental.
Yeah, no doubt. It has improved the family unit in the sense that there's purpose as well. Because as Naseema said, our kids are all now adults. I think our last one is just finishing school, but the rest are out. So it also gives purpose for Naseem to do something, because we all of us are busy in our own sort of spaces. So yes, it has given her that sort of goal to achieve that, and she's fortunate she has completed her culinary and her patisserie courses, diplomas, and she's now finalizing her chefing and so forth. So she's enjoying that.
Do you think that sense of fulfillment does affect or have a relationship somewhat with spirituality as well? When you are happy with where you are in life, or you're achieving some sort of personal goals, does it play hand in hand to some extent and make you a better person or a better Muslim? Do you think so?
Yes, Amma, because it balances your lifestyle, and it balances the home, it balances the career you choose. And with this chefing course also, you can do much more in life, not only just going and working because you need to work, but it gives you a sense of contentment and peace, and it brings a sense of calmness at home as well. So
not in the kitchen.
Do you ever help in the kitchen?
Yeah, we do. We all do.
There's always a storm in the kitchen.
There's a storm in the kitchen, yeah.
Alhamdulillah. But that's so long as it's something that brings muhabba and love as a family. Yeah. If you were to say, not goals, but let's use another word, and if you were to say looking forward and reflecting on how far you've come, you've been for so many umrahs, 3 hajj. If you look forward and you've got these grown children who are probably planning a hajj of their own one day soon, inshallah, or marriage or whatever it may be, where would your goals be going forward for this year? What do you hope to spiritually achieve in the year to come?
I think you've hit the spot on, because it's something we discussed. We would really love, and Naseema and I, we discussed this. We would really love to do a Hajj. I know it's difficult now with all the, the limitations in how many people can go. But we would really love to do a Hajj with our kids all together. Yeah, we've never taken them together on a Hajj. We've done Umrahs together, but we would love to do the Hajj. Because as you know, Umrahs are beautiful, but Hajj is an ultimate trip. It's amazing. It's something out of this world. And I don't think we can talk enough to explain what Hajj is until you actually go for yourself and you see what happens. It's just being part of something that is universal, that is something that is out of this world. So if you're asking for a goal, that would be my ultimate, is to take all my kids together and do a Hajj. It would be an amazing experience.
I'm sure it would be.
And also, Sama, with the Hajj, we know there's lots of changes and developments that's taken place, even with regard to technology. It is much more easier for the pilgrims. But the essence of Hajj remains unchanged. The submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the unity, the devotion, the connection to Allah, that will never be unchanged.
And I think that's so true. I like that you mentioned that. Thank you for mentioning that, because when it does come and you do reflect and see how Hajj has developed over the years, and now you're wanting to take your children to experience something similar, because the conversation did come up many a times, no matter how fancy those mattresses are going to get, no matter how cold the air cons are going to be, how many trees they plant to give shade, Hajj is Hajj, and it is an internal experience.
Yes, it is.
And it is perfect to set the tone. And you see it with those hujjaj that have returned to say, no matter what, that experience doesn't change. And that is void of any technological drones that are flying over.
No, 100%. No
Absolutely. If you had to have any goals, he did mention he would love to do Hajj with his family, but is there something that you hope to achieve this year, spiritually or personally, for the year ahead?
Alhamdulillah, we have a very loving family, and like Mehmood said, we always sit together and decide together. But on a much more, we also look at things, and our ideas and our perspective in life is on the same length. Alhamdulillah for that. We all just have this perception of life. We look at things equally, and everyone has their opinions, but it's very educational, constructive, where we can better ourselves. So my goal for this year is to make my family much more God conscious and living a much more tawakkul life, and inshallah.
Inshallah, we wish that inshallah you get to take your children, experience that with them. We've seen again, never say never. Du'as are always answered in that way. Du'as are always maqbool, inshallah.
I think also just want to add, whoever feels like Hajj is out of their league or they can't do it, maybe financially or whatever, my honest opinion and view is that if you try to take the step forward, because we have 5 pillars in Islam, and Hajj is almost like an abstract, because not everyone can afford it, etc. So my view is that if you make the effort, as in you make the intention first, and you start working towards it, it will come. It will definitely. That's my honest take home for anyone, is to put effort into the idea of you want to do the Hajj, and inshallah, Allah is the greatest. He will make you get there.
Inshallah. I mean, Brother Mehmood and Sister Naseema, Jazakallah khair for being with us today. It's such a pleasure talking to you, and wish inshallah that Allah takes you many more times to the blessed lands of Makkah al-Mukarramah and Medina Munawwara. We wish the same for you as home as well. Inshallah, if you are making those du'as, you've heard it many times. Never say never. Keep making dua, and we hope and pray, inshallah, that you will be the next one being called. Your name is by SMS or email. Will be on that list, inshallah, to be in the Holy Lands. Join us again next time for another edition of Along the Path, individual journeys and experiences to finding Allah. From me, Salma, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.